Welcome, wrestling fans, to Evolution of Pro Wrestling. I am your host, Lewis, the Encyclopedia of Pro Wrestling.
And I'm Jay, the Whiz Kid of Pro Wrestling.
Oh, what an introduction. Thank you, fans, for always joining us. We appreciate it. JD, we got a little stuff to talk about with the wrestling world that's been going on. You know what I'm saying? Like, for instance, Sting is officially in AEW, and the man has signed a multi-year deal. Sting is officially full-time in AEW.
That shocked me.
It shocked me too.
I was not expecting that.
It definitely shocked me. Believe me. I was
not expecting that.
Like, wow. Like,
right.
What? Like, what do you think about that?
Seriously, what do you think about that? That's absolutely insane.
A 3-year deal, according to Christopher Brown. So he's working full time.
Right,
so
he's working full time.
Wow,
that is crazy. That's something I can't believe.
Jaden, give us your input on that, man.
Honestly, oh my goodness. I feel like that is a good thing for AEW too, because that could probably put AEW on the map, since they have a super icon like Sting, and Sting has his history of being in the WWE or being in the wrestling business. So this could be a good opportunity for both AEW and Sting. Put himself back on the tubes, get himself back on the map.
Okay, interesting. And unfortunately, on a sadder note, the wrestling world lost a icon. Legend. First openly gay superstar wrestler, which is fine. That's who he was. Legendary Pat Patterson, former Intercontinental Champion, first ever Intercontinental Champion. He passed away a couple of days ago at the age of 79. He will be sadly missed. He won titles all over the world. The man, they paid him a great respect, and he deserved every single respect that came to him for everything he did in the business.
Right.
He also did a lot of work in the Attitude Era with Vince McMahon, and he was known as the Stooge, but he did a hell of a job. He was also the creator of the Royal Rumble.
Wow, really?
Yeah, he created the Royal Rumble.
Interesting.
So he's gonna be missed.
Yeah.
So Jaden, tonight's topic. Speaking of that, we were off last week due to Thanksgiving, so we weren't able to touch base on it. But for the departure of the Undertaker, we have decided to do the topic of the Undertaker's greatest rivalries, and the greatest rivalries that we thought were good were Shawn Michaels.
Mankind.
Kane and Randy Orton. See, I was testing him. He wasn't ready. See that?
He wasn't ready for it.
He wasn't ready for it.
I wasn't ready for it.
Normally
I just go like that.
He pulled a Kevin Hart. I wasn't ready. See that? You got to be ready at all times. But yes, it is Shawn Michaels, Kane, Randy Orton, and Mankind. We are going to discuss these rivalries that The Undertaker had back then with these 4 superstars. Damn. First off, when you think about The Undertaker and rivalries in the ring, what's your first thought, Jaden?
This is going to be a good rivalry. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. Whenever you hear a rivalry with The Undertaker, I feel like, to me, no matter who it is, The Undertaker makes any rivalry look good. So it could be with any person. Like, to be completely honest, I never would have thought I would have seen a Randy Orton and an Undertaker in a rivalry, but they both made it work, and that was one of the greatest rivalries that The Undertaker has ever had with the wrestler.
Okay. All right, so let's start off with Shawn Michaels.
All right.
Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker pretty much signified the Attitude Era.
And they had with Shawn Michaels, of the greatest matches.
Exactly, at WrestleMania 25 and 26.
Exactly.
So when you see that rivalry between Shawn Michaels and Undertaker, what first comes to your mind?
Oh, man. Honestly, I don't know. Icons. Just 2 icons stepping into the ring going against each other.
Okay. What else?
Man, this is hard.
Of course it's hard because it's... Excuse me. See, I got excited. You see, it's hard because anybody that wrestles with the Undertaker and has a rivalry,
Exactly.
you're going to get famous.
You really are. You really are.
No matter who you are.
That's true.
No matter who you are, you're gonna get famous. You're gonna get known.
To this day, feel like the WrestleMania 25 and 26 matches between them were practically one of the greatest matches, or if not, place the greatest matches in the books because those were great. So to have the Heartbreak Kid, aka Mr. WrestleMania, going up against the Dead Man or the Phenom, is just phenomenal because you don't see things like that often. You don't see two of the greatest icons step into a ring and put two great matches in WrestleMania back to back.
Well, so that's what I'm saying. Blake had just mentioned, which welcome everyone to Evolution of Pro Wrestling. We welcome all our fans back. Jason Sargent, Jessica Hoffman. Happy birthday to Jessica Hoffman. We got Jeff Robinson, Mr. Luis Cedeno. What's going on, brother? And we got many other fans in here. Thank you for joining us. Before we continue, please feel free to like, share, and comment for our content. The more likes we get, the more the viewers we get, the more product comes, and everything goes towards the fans. So give us all your input, give us your likes, give us your dislikes, your angry faces. Let's get that disagreements. Jeff and Blake, I already saw the tension going on. So this is going to be interesting tonight with this topic. So let's keep it going. So Jaden, what would have happened if Shawn Michaels would have never got hurt? Do you think the rivalry would have continued with The Undertaker, or you think he would have just...
It could have continued
after he...
Yeah, I felt like it could have continued because, believe it or not, people, and I still feel this is true, they say he's the godfather in the locker room. So Undertaker will probably try to do something to convince Shawn Michaels to eventually, put his pride aside and start, getting more in it with people in back in the locker rooms and, starting more rivalries and things like that. Because Undertaker was that type of person. So I feel like it could have continued, but I still feel like knowing Shawn Michaels, he probably would have still had too much pride and he wouldn't have wanted to do it anymore.
Well, remember, Blake just mentioned that those two had the first ever Hell in a Cell match, first time ever, and the Undertaker kicked the living bejesus out of Shawn Michaels in that match.
I'm surprised.
And what made it even more is that they had a Hell in a Cell. They had a casket match at a point that they, I believe, they burnt the casket. They went all out with this rivalry. And this rivalry all began when Shawn Michaels cost The Undertaker the WWE Championship against Bret the Hitman Hart. Now, that's what I'm saying. What if that would have never happened? Would that rivalry still would have been significant to this day?
Probably not then. If that wouldn't have happened, it probably wouldn't have been as significant as it was or as it is now. Yeah, I don't think it would have been as significant.
No.
If that was to happen, I don't think so.
But that's what I'm saying. So in the Royal Rumble, when they had the casket match, many people thought, okay, this is the end of the rivalry. This is going to continue. That's it. That no more. But little did we know, they came back. Undertaker came back, and Kane was supposed to be helping them, and we're going to get to that next. Kane was supposed to be there helping him, and next thing you know, Kane chokeslammed him into the casket. And then lit the casket on fire.
I remember that.
And
that's when he was appalled.
And that's when the Undertaker decided to go towards Kane. But with Shawn Michaels, okay, Blake says, why not, Jaden?
Why wouldn't the rivalry? We're still talking about the Shawn Michaels and Undertaker thing. Mm-hmm. Why this rivalry wouldn't work?
Yeah. If that would have never happened, if he would have never hit him with the chair.
So just refresh my brain one more time.
Shawn Michaels hit the Undertaker in the head.
Okay.
With a chair when the Undertaker fought Bret Hart. And Shawn Michaels cost him the WWE title.
Okay, so if
that would have never happened, would the rivalry have been significant to this day?
Yeah, no, because you gotta, if you're planning for most people, like Shawn Michaels and Undertaker wise, if you're planning to do some type of rivalry with someone like that, you have to have a good build up because for the Undertaker, he's the dead man, so you can't just walk up to him and just beat him down like he's not gonna do that little Jason Voorhees sit up from Mortal Kombat. So you have to start something really interesting, and Shawn Michaels did that perfect. He hit him in the head with the chair. So I feel like if he wouldn't have made that interesting, or if he wouldn't have never did it at all, then the rivalry wouldn't have been as good, or it just wouldn't have been good at all.
Okay. Well, according to James Sargent, he says Shawn and Taker, the rivalry could have been bigger than Austin and The Rock every year Mania match. I would have to agree. It was a pretty interesting rivalry. It was very, very interesting, and I wish Shawn Michaels would have never retired.
Me too.
I wish the rivalry could have kept going.
It could have. I felt the same way.
You know what I mean? And yes, we're talking about the casket match. The casket match when Undertaker got chokeslammed by Kane, which brings us to the next rivalry. Kane and the Undertaker. Nobody knew of storyline that the Undertaker had a brother.
Yeah, no one knew.
You know, so...
And I felt like Kane was the perfect person
of course, you saw the size of this man
the devil's favorite demon.
The devil's favorite demon. Like, you see this man and you wonder, what the hell is this man doing here? Who is this guy?
Right.
So, and to top it off, when Kane came, he debuted... I don't know if you ever seen that he ripped open
the Hell in a Cell.
But it was for real.
He did.
It wasn't propped.
It wasn't.
This man literally took that cell and just ripped the shit out of it.
Kane
Like
at his prime, I'm pretty sure. That was like prime.
That's
Kane,
what I'm
right?
saying.
Then he was a lot stronger than like bald Kane. That Kane was like the prime Kane was the Kane that everyone enjoyed watching. Kane. That was the Kane that we needed to see a rivalry with the Undertaker, and we so happened to see that rivalry with him and the Undertaker. So I am so glad that happened. That you had two dead men.
Well, we got a comment. It's true. This is possibly true. James Sargent says Paul Bearer made Kane and Taker's rivalry huge because Paul Bearer had a significant impact in that rivalry when it came to that.
If I'm not mistaken, Paul Bearer would carry around an urn, right? He would always carry around an urn. And that was Undertaker's urn, I'm pretty sure, that he would always carry around. So yes, they were both Paul Bearer guys. Undertaker was one and Kane was one. So that really did make the rivalry more interesting.
It was a huge rivalry between these two, because then we saw the first ever Inferno match between these two. They fought at WrestleMania. It took 3 tombstones for The Undertaker to take out Kane.
That was insane.
Luis Sereno says, I always enjoyed HBK versus Taker and Foley and Taker in Hell in a Cell. Yes, Mankind, Mick Foley is in this list. He's last on this list, and we're going to discuss that rivalry also today on this show. For those of you tuning in, please feel free to share all over Facebook. Bring your friends, your family, your cousins. Everyone. Bring them in. Share, like, comment. Bring us in with this awesome topic. The Undertaker's greatest rivalries, handpicked by us, of Kane, Shawn Michaels, Randy Orton, and Mankind. So, Jeff Robinson says Paul Bearer was huge in that. Yes, he was. That's what made it so special. That when they had that match at WrestleMania, there was an intense rivalry keep going. Like, they kept going. And then after that Inferno match, I think maybe a couple of years down the line, Kane made this rivalry again with The Undertaker. So, and then
they had a Buried Alive match too.
Yeah, they had a Buried Alive match.
Kane won.
They had another WrestleMania, a 20 match. They had a Hell in a Cell match. These guys went through war. So, let me ask you a question though, Jaden. If Kane would have never existed, do you think The Undertaker's career would have surpassed that without Kane?
It could have, yes.
Okay.
It could have, because, which rivalry came first? Kane or Shawn Michaels?
Shawn Michaels.
Then I feel like it still could have, because we never said if him and Shawn Michaels never fought. Yes, we were talking about that earlier, but if we're starting to include Kane in this, if, everything would have happened between Undertaker and Shawn Michaels, Undertaker still could have made it big without Kane, just not the way everybody would have expected it, or not the way that the Undertaker would have thought of it. So that's why I am actually glad that Kane was the guy for it, because they made Kane into a similar person like Undertaker, and he was a pallbearer guy.
Okay, so we got a question from a fan, Christopher Brown, loyal fan of Evolution of Pro Wrestling. He said, "Here's a question for you, Lewis. With regards to Taker versus Kane, was the rivalry more intense with Kane wearing a mask or less intense without it?"
I think it was more intense with it. To me, at least. I think, but that's where it all started. To be honest, that's where it all started.
Yeah, I gotta say more intense with the mask, and I'm gonna explain why. The reason I say this because when Kane did not have the mask, you were able to see his expressions, see how he feels to pain. When he had the mask, you couldn't tell. The man was still taking the hits, like he wasn't getting hit, like he was indestructible. So that's what I'm saying. That's why and it's a good point that James just brought up, that there was a documentary on Kane and the Undertaker, that when the Undertaker debuted. They debuted him as Kane the Undertaker.
Kane the Undertaker.
Kane the Undertaker. Which means Kane, who was named after his brother. And then they put him as the Undertaker.
Okay. Oh.
Yep, Blake says, James says, if no Kane, Austin versus Taker happened sooner. That's right. Because Austin and Taker had a rivalry going on into SummerSlam for the WWE title, and they were having a rivalry.
So yeah, he's right. That could have happened sooner.
So either way, it would have been.
Undertaker's career would have ascended. It would have went to new heights. Either way.
Of course,
either way.
Listen, he was the Undertaker.
Exactly.
The massive pop that man gets each match he does. This man has
not even the massive.
He's had
pop.
rivalries against Brock Lesnar, Hulk Hogan. You know, but like those were good rivalries. But the ones we're mentioning are even better.
Those are the ones that we're most talked about.
No, but that's what I'm saying. And it's not only just most talked about. These are the people that the Undertaker highlighted their careers, because we didn't know who Kane was at all. We knew Kane as Dr. Isaac Yankem, DDS. The man had crooked teeth, blonde hair. Then they try to bring him back as the fake Diesel. Like, it wasn't working.
Kane was where
his career highlighted. When
he needed that, though.
Exactly.
He needed that.
The man came in like a beast, brolic, face mask,
enough to rip a cage off.
And the tombstone was perfect.
Oh yeah,
perfect, on point. Like, and then the storyline when he kept hitting the Undertaker.
And if I'm not mistaken, I could be going crazy, but these guys had an awesome stare down. Once Kane ripped off the cell, they just started staring each other down, and then that was just awesome. That was the way to start it, and then with the tombstone from Kane, that was the way to finish it. So that was perfect right there.
No, that's how
Kane all started.
But that's how you got to think, Jaden. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
It's
you
like
be smart with it.
No, but that's what I'm saying. When it comes to something like that, it was a good way to welcome Kane into the World Wrestling Federation, and then the response that he got from the fans.
It was crazy.
You know, and a lot of people think that if this is a good point. James says, I think if Taker would have jumped to WCW, he would have been lost. Of course.
I agree.
Of course. That man, they would have not known what to do with the Undertaker. They already said it. The man, according to Ole Anderson, that the man was never going to make any money. So, you know, for you to say something like that to somebody, that's just ridiculous. That's rude.
Yeah.
That's dumb. Like, for what? For what? What are you going to say?
Right.
Because they trying to make a career for themselves.
Exactly.
Like, for what? You know what I mean? And Taker came to
proved all of them wrong.
Prove all of them wrong. He proved all of them wrong. He
became one of the greatest.
He became one of the greatest, and I would not be surprised if Undertaker is inducted in this year's next year's Hall of Fame.
In the Hall of Fame, he deserves to be inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man.
So that's a must. He needs to get into the Hall of Fame because he deserves it 100%.
Listen, when we talk about that rivalry with Kane and him, the Inferno match was sick. Like, the intensity with the heat, like, Holy shit! Like
I know that had to be hard because it was a lot of heat around the ring, and there's fire around it. Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
that's crazy. And then
well, no, but that's the thing that Kane and the Undertaker were the ones that revolutionized that match, because then after that, Kane started utilizing that match more.
Right.
You know, so it was good to see that match.
It was good to see that match. It was really good to see that match, and I'm glad we got to see that match between those two.
Of course, because
it was great.
Because he pretty much his career transcended after
exactly. It really did. So basically, Undertaker and Kane helped each other because that's where Kane all started, and that's where Undertaker blew up. So that was a win-win for both of them.
Yeah,
so that was absolutely great.
Well, we shall see who's going to be in the Hall of Fame. Would it be Kane? Would it be Undertaker?
I hope it is Undertaker.
So, Jaden.
Yes.
When we also talk about another rivalry, we talk about Randy Orton and the Undertaker.
Okay. If we're getting technical,
if this is like,
if we're really getting technical, that was my favorite Undertaker rivalry. To be completely honest, Undertaker and Randy Orton was my favorite rivalry. That's where the Legend Killer was born. Exactly.
It was born.
That's where the Legend Killer was born, because he used to kill the legends. He would slay the legends. And he so happened to put Undertaker on his list. And these guys faced off. It went from them seeing each other in caskets, Randy Orton driving him back into the stage, setting him on fire. Oh my goodness, these guys had an insane rivalry going on. And to top it all off, Randy Orton's dad, Cowboy Bob Orton, was involved in all of it too, which made it even greater.
Oh yeah, the Cowboy Bob Orton, that was amazing.
Especially with the cast too.
Let me tell you something. When I saw the documentary, we saw the documentary of Untold with Randy Orton, and I don't know if many of you saw it, but there was a point that Randy Orton had hit the Undertaker with the chair. But he hit the Undertaker with the wrong part of the chair. So when he went back there, he even said it. He was scared shitless. He went to the back. He was ready. He said, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." And then Undertaker said, "It's okay. Your receipt's coming." I'm like, "Oh man!" But at the time, Randy Orton did not know what that was.
Right.
So when you saw those two in the ring, when you saw as ambitious and as hungry as Randy Orton was when that rivalry happened, you saw him RKOing everybody. He RKO'd Roddy Piper. He RKO'd Jake the Snake Roberts. I think it was Tori Wilson or Stacy Keibler. I think it was Stacy Keibler. Hulk Hogan on his car. So
then he just stared him down right after.
And then, to add to it, you adding his father to the mix.
That was
old school with the cast, the man coming in, father and son working together. It was amazing.
Right.
The first match they had was at WrestleMania. Orton gave him a run for his money.
He did.
And that's when Cowboy Bob Orton debuted back at WrestleMania. Nobody saw that coming at all. Nobody saw it coming. And he did it. Then they kept going. The rivalry kept going. I remember a time that he took Eddie Guerrero's lowrider and he smashed him into the
and then it just started sparking. Everything started going crazy.
And then it just kept going. The rivalry just kept going. Undertaker playing games in the mirror and the boys.
And then Randy Orton goes from Randy Orton setting him on fire in a casket, then Randy Orton winning, Undertaker returning, lightning striking from his casket.
From the casket of Survivor Series.
And then the casket opens and you see Undertaker appear out of it and just wipes out the whole ring. What a rivalry these two had. Like I said, that is my favorite rivalry of all time from The Undertaker. Him and Randy Orton. That is my favorite rivalry.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. The rivalry between them, when they had that match of the casket, you see something like that, and you see when a rivalry like that is so intense, because at certain points it's like, okay, what the hell is this kid gonna do? Like, what's the next thing he's gonna do? Like, he's pretty much trying to make a name for himself as a young guy coming after the Undertaker, trying to end. And he was the first one to mention the streak, Because nobody else mentioned the streak.
That is true.
Nobody mentioned the streak except Randy Orton. And that's what made the streak even more significant when those two
They picked
went
a
at
perfect
it.
person.
And Randy Orton mentioned it and said that he's going to be, 12-1, I believe? I think he mentioned 12-1. It was something like that.
I think so.
And it made the rivalry so intense. I'm like,
did.
wow. And like, look at me, I'm getting excited. That Hell in a Cell match was when the Undertaker told him,
Your receipt.
you ready for that receipt, son? And wham! Knocked the shit out of him in his head.
Yeah.
Like kaplam! But it was a hell of a match.
It was.
And it was a hell of a rivalry. And the man was able to keep up with the Undertaker.
He was one of Undertaker's greatest opponents too. I feel like he was also one of Undertaker's kryptonites because he was one of the people that actually stood a chance against the Undertaker.
Well, I got pretty much. This is a good point Jeff Robinson just said. Hell yeah, the Legend Killer and the Streak came out with this feud.
That is true.
He's absolutely right.
That's probably why Randy Orton's career.
His career
went super
skyrocketed.
high
His
after
career
that
skyrocketed.
because he mentioned the Streak and he was the Legend Killer at the time.
No, he like straight forward. Like
Right.
he wasn't no comparison.
Exactly. It really
So-
wasn't.
And Taker counted to 10 after beating Flair at Mania. Blake said, yeah, he was counting, but when he came back as a dead man, he mentioned it himself. He wasn't really thinking about it. He's
Right.
counting, but at the point, he wasn't thinking about it when he came back. You know what I'm saying? He got that 11-0 against Kane when he came back as the Phenom. But when it officially became more noticed when he got into that rivalry with Randy Orton, you know? And it as you said, that is one of my favorite rivalries too when it comes to Undertaker and Randy Orton.
That is
and especially when Undertaker asked to work with Randy Orton. That's what made it even more special.
He probably seen potential in Randy Orton.
Because of the way Randy Orton pretty much carried himself.
And he was a third gen superstar.
What he did with Evolution.
Oh yeah.
Like the way he was Intercontinental Champion, the way he had that match,
he had with
the way he had that rivalry with Mick Foley.
Oh man,
you know we saw the hardcore match. We called the match.
Yes, we
did. So imagine that. Which brings us to our final rivalry: Undertaker and Mick Foley. Where the hell do you begin with this rivalry?
I can't even. It was chaotic. It was hardcore, insane. Every word for demonic in the book. It was absolutely crazy. And I feel like Mick Foley was one of the people, Mankind. Mick Foley and Mankind are the same people, but Mankind was not scared of the Undertaker.
No,
Never.
absolutely not.
And Mankind had balls to get up off of a stretcher to fight Undertaker after he gets thrown off of a cell.
Off a 15-foot
not a
high
cage. A Hell in a Cell. Off the top.
Yes.
Onto the... Oh my goodness. That's just... I can't do that. I can't. Oh man, Mick Foley was a G for that one.
No, it's that's what I'm saying. Like
he did what's best for business.
So what happened was when the Undertaker won at WrestleMania, the night after WrestleMania, Mankind debuted in the WWE on Monday Night Raw. You know, so that was the first. That's when Raw was just starting to get its momentum. Then the Undertaker fought Bradshaw, just JBL. They were fighting. It was a hell of a match. Those two, JBL said the Undertaker brought the best out of him in that match. Then comes Mankind and attacks him. Like, why? What the hell just happened? Why is Mankind attacking the Undertaker? Right. And at the time, I wasn't knowing why Undertaker was getting hurt because he was supposed to be the Phenom. But Mankind did a number on him. Like, he pretty much beat the living bejesus out of him. Until they had a match, a regular match. Then they had a border room brawl match. Jaden, we saw that match in our watch party.
We did see that match in the watch party.
You know how that goes.
That was a crazy
You know how that was coming out.
Oh, yeah.
That match was brutal.
Oh.
Like, brutal.
No, it's more than brutal. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was like,
it
wow.
Was insane, right.
You know,
that was what it was. Wow. Couldn't believe it.
And then, with that match, you saw Paul Bearer turning on the Undertaker.
That was insane.
You know, and then the Paul Bearer turning heel and going with Mankind, which made it again.
That was
again.
insane.
Paul Bearer plays a
insane.
part in a big rivalry with those two.
Paul Bearer is one of the. If you want a demonic person or like a person that's similar to the Undertaker, Paul Bearer was the guy. If you needed a manager like that, Paul Bearer was the man for it. Because he did absolutely great on Undertaker, Mankind, and Kane's corner. So, yeah. That was insane when I seen the turn with Paul Bearer and that Mankind thing. That was just... I couldn't believe it. I wasn't understanding what was happening. I was just confused and in shock when I seen that.
No, of course. And it was definitely shock, because of everything that went on between those two. Because they had that match... Then they had another match that The Undertaker returned again at Survivor Series. But this time the man came from the rafters like he was a bat, with a teardrop in his face. The man looked amazing. Amazing as a character, And you saw that new era of The Undertaker come back.
Yes.
But then eventually the purple and gray, the gray and black came back at WrestleMania against Sid Justice. But the rivalry wasn't over. They still had a buried alive match that Mankind buried the Undertaker.
Isn't that when the whole Dead Man or Phenom era started when he stuck his hand out of the
out of the dirt?
Oh, yep.
Then came the ultimate match of Hell in a Cell. When you as a human being get thrown off a 15-foot high hell in a cell, not just a cage, a cell,
broken.
God forbid something's going to happen. This man threw Mick Foley off of this cage, and
And the crazy thing was the table didn't wait a minute to collapse. The table, once he landed on the table, it just completely collapsed on the ground. That had to be a super hard impact. And for Mick Foley to finish that match, and then he get thrown through the cell after that.
Yeah, and that wasn't even planned. That was not planned at all.
Wow.
At all. And then to top it off,
man.
The man gets thrown through the cage. The chair hits his face, and you see his tooth through his nose.
Oh my goodness!
You see it right there going through his nose, like wow.
Mick Foley, man,
what
a legend!
And he still continued to fight the Undertaker in the match.
That's why.
And that's another thing that, with that, the Undertaker also had a bad knee. That when he landed on the ring, he twisted. He bothered his knee a little bit. I think he was. I think he was wrestling with a broken toe or something like that. There was something wrong with his toe, but. He pretty much, it was the match between those two kept going. And then what made it even crazy is that Mick Foley was laughing. He was laughing at the pain. Like, how do you do that?
This is insane, man. This is crazy.
Wow.
This is why.
And no, wow. and it's true what Blake said. These were the exact words of Jim Ross. As God is my witness, his body has been broken in half. Those were Jim Ross's words. Like, by God, he killed him. He's been broken in half. And then when he gets thrown through the cage, it says, somebody stop the damn match.
Yeah, Jim Ross was the perfect guy for commentary.
And then after that, Vince McMahon told him, listen, I appreciate what you did, but don't ever do that again. Straight up, he told them, don't do it again. But that never stopped Mick Foley. He still did it anyway and got thrown through tables and speared through.
But it was best for business, though.
Of course, but that's the thing, though, that the Undertaker and Mick Foley knew the business and knew what the fans wanted, and that's why they did what they did, and that's why the Undertaker will always be known as one of the, if not the greatest superstar wrestler of all time in professional wrestling.
I agree. And I feel like it was also good for Undertaker to do that because no matter what, Mick Foley can take things like that. He can take getting thrown through a table and a ladder together, or getting speared through a flaming table, or thrown through a cell or off of a cell.
Yeah.
Mick Foley can take things like that. So that was just best for business. Right
Of course,
there.
it was best.
And that
for
was
business.
it was a risk. Don't get me wrong.
Of course, it was a risk.
But it was
listen,
best for business.
any risk, any move that they do is a risk. That's for sure. But that's something that you can't really change. That's what professional wrestlers do. And they're gonna do it. They're gonna do it to entertain. They're gonna do it to pretty much get our attention and keep looking.
Right.
That's what product does. And it's something that not too many people see these days. You don't. Excuse me. You don't see it too often when it comes to wrestlers like The Undertaker. You don't give him people don't give him the credit that he deserves, as well as Mankind when he was there.
I agree.
So it was sad to see The Undertaker go. It was.
But now I feel like he went off on the good note and the right way. I feel like that was the perfect way to end off The Undertaker.
Well, we just got Christopher Brown says he said, I'm also grateful that Taker sounds like he's open to an idea of becoming a coach at the Performance Center going forward.
That would be a good idea.
That would be a good idea. He can teach the young ones, young wrestlers there, how to do certain things, help out, you know what I mean, and do what he can, man.
Right.
And it like I said, it's gonna be a shame to see him go. It's not seeing him at WrestleMania anymore.
It's gonna be different.
It's gonna be very different. It's gonna be very different not watching him.
Right.
So we're very grateful for seeing The Undertaker for over 30 years. Thank you, Undertaker, for many, many years.
Yes.
We did call his match, Jaden, when we did our commentary, getting ready for EGCW. We called an excellent match with him and Randy Orton.
Oh, yeah.
It was a hell of a match. We enjoyed it, and also the Hell in a Cell. We did the Hell in a Cell. We did the commentary for that too. So we've been practicing, getting ready. But wrestling fans, thank you for joining us for this topic. But we're not done yet. We actually got a few announcements coming up. So we have within the next couple of weeks, as we mentioned, in December, I believe it is December 18th. December 18th.
Yes, I'm thinking of something else. December 18th. You're right.
December 18th, we are going to have a show that we call The Blast from the Past, which means we are doing 9 unique matches that we are going to talk about that to this day still signify this industry. And you, the fans, are going to decide what would be a stipulation for this match if you would redo this match. Now, if we all can't agree on a vote, then that's when the wheel of evolution comes into play. So, the matches we are going to announce for this Blast of the Past is going to be as follows. Let me take a look here. It will be December 18th. We will have 9 of the greatest matches. We will be talking about Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy, the Hardy Boys, Edge and Christian, and the Dudley Boys. We're going to talk about that match. You guys can give us your input and also what stipulation you want. The next match will be Ric Flair against Sting. We're going to relive that match as well. And you guys can come up with a stipulation for that as well and see how that match could have turned out if they ever fought again with your stipulation. Then you got the next match, Ric Flair against Dusty Rhodes, one of the greatest rivalries of all time. And this is one I know you guys are definitely going to enjoy talking about how to do a stipulation for this one. Then you have the Great Muta against Antonio Inoki, 2 of the greatest Japanese wrestlers of all time, probably if not the best of all time. Then we are going to have Eddie Guerrero against Rey Mysterio. Remember that rivalry? That rivalry goes all the way back to go back to ECW, coming into WCW, coming into WWE.
Yeah, they had a good rivalry.
Then we got, to me by far, still the best match ever at WrestleMania. Macho Man Randy Savage against Ricky the Dragon Steamboat at WrestleMania 3.
Was it this on the watch party?
Yes, it was.
I have seen this match before.
It was in the watch party. Then, we were just talking about it today. We're going to talk about it again, but this time we're going to see what stipulation you fans are going to come out with. The Undertaker against Kane. What stipulation would you do if these guys would have ever...
Full mask Kane.
Like, how would you guys react to this match? Then, the irresistible force against the immovable object. The immortal Hulk Hogan against Andre the Giant. We were going to relive that match as well.
That was like a Zeus versus Hercules.
And then, last but not least, one of the greatest rivalries ever back in the late 70s going into the 80s. Jimmy Superfly Snuka against Don Morocco. Excuse me, the Magnificent
Don
Morocco.
The Magnificent Morocco.
That is going to be Blast from the Past, December 18th. Also, we are sad to say that we have officially come to parts. We've come to terms with Evolution of Pro Wrestling Trivia Show. Jeff Robinson is the final champion. We appreciate everyone that participated in wrestling trivia and that took part in it.
But that's alright, because we got more interesting things for you guys.
Of course we do. We got amazing things coming up. And we actually got a new thing coming up. Oh, thank you, Jeff. Thank you. He says he said a nice list of matches. Thank you, sir. But I'm sure you're going to love this one. Here at Evolution of Pro Wrestling next month, we are achieving our 2-year anniversary. But we're going to get to that in a minute. As back to Evolution of Pro Wrestling Trivia, we are replacing that with the Monday Night Wars. We are going to discuss once a month, starting from day one of Monday Night Raw and WCW Nitro. We're going to discuss every single card once a month, and you, the fans, are going to give us your input on how you thought, which card you thought was better overall. What do you think about that, Jaden?
Man, this is interesting. You know, we're starting something new. We're giving something for the fans. The Monday Night Wars. People are going to enjoy this because the Monday Night Wars are very talked about. You hear them in documents and a lot of other things.
How you doing, Alvin? Sorry, bro.
Relive the Monday Night Wars. That's great right there.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Exactly. The Monday Night Wars, where it all started.
Exactly.
That's what brought the Attitude Era. That's what brought out Stone Cold, The Rock, all these great people. Yes, thank you, Lewis. Appreciate it.
Awesome.
Appreciate it. Then, also, we're going to have amazing topics, like topics you're not going to believe, rivalries that people still talk about to this day, tag team matches, which brings me to my next announcement. Here at Evolution of Pro Wrestling, we make our 2-year anniversary next month on January 29th. We are going to go live for a 2-part special. Evolution of Pro Wrestling presents our first ever interpromotional tag team title tournament. 32 tag teams will go head to head to determine who will be the winner of the tag titles. What will be their fate when they use the wheel of evolution. This is something you are not going to want to miss. Join us for this epic event, and we're actually going to tell you the matches to this event. We are going to have the Outsiders against the Skyscrapers. We're going to have the Nasty Boys against Doom. The Usos against Strikeforce. The Brothers of Destruction against Bruiser Brody and Stan Hansen. Then we have the Street Profit against Money Incorporated, Ted DiBiase, and Erwin R. Shyster. You have the Islanders against Edge and Christian. The Midnight Express against the Blade Runners. The APA against the Wild Samoans. The Beer Money against the Dudley Boys. The Gorillas of Destiny against the Samoan SWAT team. The Hart Foundation against the British Bulldogs. The Eliminators from ECW against the Steiner brothers. Dr. Death, Steve Williams, and Terry Bam Bam Gordy against the Briscoes from Ring of Honor. The Young Bucks against the New Day. Legion of Doom against the Rock and Sock Connection. Demolition against Harlem Heat. Guys,
this is interesting.
Can I not say any more about this 2-year anniversary special? You gotta join us for this show.
Perfect.
You gotta join us for this show.
You have to. You really have to.
And then the stipulations to it. Like, come on. Satan's structure. Elimination Chamber chair match.
Oh yeah, these matches, you guys don't know. We've made our own matches, but we're gonna explain that when the show happens.
No, but this is what I'm saying. We're gonna name these as we go
can name
along.
these as we go along.
And then come the match, we are going to explain to you what those matches are. We got a blindfold tables match. We got a weapons submission match. A tag team dog collar match. A tag team last man standing match.
Yeah.
A lumberjack candlestick match. A tag team Texas bull rope match. A doomsday cage match. And a hardcore inferno match. Need I say more? And just to add to it, we're gonna have extra ones, because when that wheel spins, and if it lands on that first match, we're eliminating it, and we're gonna put a question mark, which means that's gonna be pick your poison. So, gentlemen, everyone, all the fans, please join us for that anniversary special coming up. But as far as today's show happens, we thank you for joining us for this awesome topic of the greatest rivalries of The Undertaker. It was amazing. I enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Spin the wheel, make the deal. Yep, we got the wheel. It was a success the first time, and this time we're going big. So we're going to, and it's a 2-part event. So we're going to, look at that. Jeff says, love the lumberjack candlestick idea. Great show.
Just wait until you hear the match, what the match is about. You guys are going to be satisfied with these.
Oh, no, they definitely going to be satisfied. Thank you, Jessica Hoffman. As always, fans, please feel free to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. Also, I'm sorry, excuse me. Also, please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Show some love to our page, pass it around. Thank you for everything. Thank you, Blake, for a great show. For a great show. Yes, we a great show. We appreciate it. Thank you. We try to give the best show the fans would like. You know what I mean? And next week, Jaden, we talked about the Attitude Era. We talked about the Monday Night Wars. Now we're going to talk about the industries that cause the Monday Night Wars.
Man.
WCW versus WWE. What would have happened if all those superstars that jumped ship, would they had still been famous? Would the wars have been going? And yes, before we forgot to mention that, Mr. Luis Cedeno, he is the chairman and CEO of Extreme Global Wrestling Federation. I'm sorry, EGCW. He will be on the show next Sunday. We are going to interview him and talk about his amazing card, Lethal Lottery. It's going to be amazing, great superstars, independent superstars. It's going to be great. It's going to be Extreme Global Championship Wrestling. And he's going to be promoting some great matches. So this is an interview you are not going to want to miss on Sunday. It's going to be at 6 o'clock. I will be doing a post on that. We're going to be welcoming him in. We are actually going to be doing his commentary. We're going to be his commentary team, which we are very excited about. And it's going to pretty much... go full throttle. He said no questions, off limits. He said no questions, off limits. So he doesn't want me to ask him questions. So but it's gonna be cool to promote this event. So it's going to be amazing. We're going to promote everything, all the matches, the date, the time, and where you could get tickets. So, but yes, again, fans, thank you for joining us. Again, follow us all over social media. If you have any concerns or comments or topics, message us on Facebook and email us at evolutionofprowrestling@gmail.com. Again, WCW versus WWE next week. For myself, Lewis, the Encyclopedia of Pro Wrestling.
And Jay, the Whiz Kid of Pro Wrestling.
And for my producer and director, my lovely wife, Yesenia, thank you, wrestling fans, for joining us. Have a good weekend. We'll see you next week, Friday night.